The line between life and death is often razor thin, a terrifying edge that most of us will never have to walk. But for a select few, that line becomes their entire world. Today, we're diving into one of the most astonishing survival stories ever recorded, a tale of human endurance against the cruelest forces of nature. This is the story of José Salvador Alvarenga, a man who survived for 438 days adrift in the Pacific Ocean. It was November 17th, 2012. The sun was rising over the coast of Chiapas, Mexico. José Alvarenga, a 36-year-old fisherman, was getting his small 25-foot fiberglass boat ready for a day of deep sea fishing. He wasn't alone. With him was a young, inexperienced crewmate named Ezequiel Cordoba, just 22 years old. Their plan was simple, a 30-hour trip to hunt for shark, mahi-mahi, and tuna. They packed a large icebox for their catch, but little else. No food, no water, just the tools of their trade and the vast open ocean ahead. For the first few hours, everything went according to plan. The sea was calm, the fishing was good. They were about 75 miles from the coast when the weather took a sudden, violent turn. A storm, a norte, as the locals call it, descended upon them with terrifying speed. The sky turned black, the waves swelled into monstrous mountains of water, and fierce winds began to batter their tiny boat. Alvarenga, an experienced sailor with over a decade on the water, knew they were in serious trouble. He fought to turn the boat back towards shore, but the storm was relentless. A huge wave crashed over the side, swamping their outboard motor. Silence. The engine was dead. They were powerless at the mercy of the raging sea. As the storm tossed them around like a toy, Alvarenga managed to make a frantic radio call to his boss, shouting their dire situation before the radio, too, went silent. They were cut off, adrift. As the storm raged for 5 days, it pushed them further and further out into the open Pacific. They had no idea where they were or where we're going. When the storm finally subsided, the reality of their situation sank in. They were surrounded, endless expanse of blue water, with no land in sight. The fishing gear they had so carefully prepared was lost to the storm, except for the large, now empty, icebox. Their hopes of a quick rescue faded with each passing day. The sun beat down on them mercilessly, and with no fresh water, dehydration quickly became their most immediate enemy. Survival mode kicked in. Alvarenga, ever the resourceful fisherman, knew their only chance was to live off the ocean. He started catching turtles that swam by the boat, drinking their blood for hydration and eating their meat for sustenance. He learned to catch seabirds that landed on his boat, a grim but necessary meal. Using his bare hands, he would snatch small fish that sought shelter in the shadow of his boat. The diet was gruesome: raw fish, turtle blood, and occasionally their own urine. When rainwater was scarce, their most precious resource was rainwater. They would collect it in any container they could find, cherishing every drop. But days, sometimes weeks, would go by without rain, pushing them to the brink of despair. Young Ezequiel struggled immensely. The raw, bloody diet made him sick, and he often refused to eat. He became withdrawn, his hope dwindling with each passing sunrise. Alvarenga tried to keep their spirits up, talking about their favorite foods, their families, and the grand feasts they would have when they were rescued. He tried to get Ezequiel to participate to keep his mind active, but the young man was fading. After about 4 months adrift, the psychological and physical toll became too much for Ezequiel. He had become sick after eating a raw seabird and refused all food and water after that. He made Alvarenga promise to things, that he wouldn't eat his body after he died, and that he would find his mother and tell her what happened. Alvarenga agreed. A few days later, Ezequiel Cordoba died in his arms. For 6 days, Alvarenga kept his friend's body in the boat, talking to it as if he were still alive. The loneliness was crushing, and he was beginning to lose his grip on reality. Finally, realizing he had to let go to survive, he pushed Ezequiel's body overboard. Now he was truly alone. The solitude was a new kind of torture. He would talk to himself, sing and pray, anything to keep the madness at bay. He marked the passing months by the phases of the moon, a lonely calendar in a world without time. He saw countless container ships on the horizon, massive vessels that represented salvation. He would wave frantically, screaming until his throat was raw, but his tiny boat was just a speck in the vast ocean. Each time a ship passed without seeing him, a piece of his hope died. Yet he perseverated. He never gave up. He told himself he had to survive for his family, for his daughter back in El Salvador, and to keep his promise to Ezequiel. Then, after 438 days adrift, on January 30th, 2014, he saw it. Green. There's a faint sliver on the horizon, but it was unmistakably land. He had drifted an incredible 600-700 miles across the Pacific. With the last of his strength, he abandoned his battered boat and swam to shore, collapsing on the beach of a remote atoll, one of the Marshall Islands. He was found by a local couple, emaciated, with long hair and a thick beard, looking more like a wild man than a human. He could only croak one word: turtle, bird, fish. His journey wasn't over. He was taken to the main island and eventually flown back to civilization. The world was stunned by his story. Medical experts were amazed that he had survived. He lost a significant amount of weight, was severely dehydrated, and his legs were swollen, but he was alive. His mental fortitude was just as incredible as his physical endurance. Back home, he was hailed as a hero, a miracle man, but his ordeal left deep scars. He suffered from PTSD, a fear of the water, and was haunted by the memory of Ezequiel. He kept his promise, finding Ezequiel's mother to tell her of her son's final days. The story, while incredible, was also met with skepticism. Some questioned how he could have survived so long, but investigations by officials, oceanographers who tracked the currents, and doctors who examined him all supported his account. The details were too specific, too consistent, too harrowing to be made up. José Salvador Alvarenga's story is a testament to the sheer power of the human will to live. It shows us that even in the face of unimaginable hardship and absolute loneliness, the instinct to survive can push us to do the impossible. It's a stark reminder of the power of the ocean, but also the resilience of the human spirit. What do you think you would do in that situation? Could you have survived? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Stories like this remind us to never take a single day for granted. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as incredible as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more tales of survival against all odds. We'll see you in the next one.